All right, y'all. Welcome back. I am so excited for another conversation with everyone, with another conversation with my special guest for today. For those of you who don't know me, I am Kendra Tillman. In the last 5 years, I became a certified life and leadership coach, and my business evolved from a spiritual and professional growth conference for Christian women into what is now Strong Her Me Coaching and Consulting, where we help rising women leaders realize their mission through coaching, curriculum, and community. In honor of Women's History Month, we are releasing four Real Talk leadership conversations each Wednesday. We're talking about the secrets of thriving women leaders. Our weekly conversation series will help you uncover the hidden gems that only come when you sit down and talk with another woman about the joys and challenges of leading while keeping her soul well. Today's guest is Dr. Kimberly Ellison, and we're going to talk with her about what happens when women dare to walk in confidence and authenticity. And Dr. Kimberly has led innovative training and performance improvement solutions to national and international organizations for over 19 years. Her expertise in optimizing organizational leadership and individual performance empowers women professionals across the globe. Her training, consulting, facilitation, strategy implementation, and execution services have benefited leaders across all levels, from the C suite executives to emerging talents. She has also worked with ministry leaders and community organizations. Her compelling, pioneering, didactic, and dynamic approach to engaging business and spirituality distinguishes Dr. Kimberly from others in her field, a woman after my own heart. No matter the audience, Dr. Kimberly delivers engaging, practical strategies with an inspirational and transformative message, which you will absolutely see during my conversation with her today. To learn more about Dr. Kimberly and possibly add her to your payroll, you can visit drkimberlyellison.com, and you can also thank me later for that one. All right. Welcome, Dr. Kimberly.
Woo! Hello, Kendra. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Yes, I am so excited to have you as my guest today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. We always have some really, really great conversations. We go deep. Like when we talk,
Yes,
we go into the deep end when we have
we
our
do.
conversation.
We do. We have to literally cut it off. We got to listen, we got to cut
Yeah, we had a little pre-conversation before this, and I was like, "Wait, Dr. Kimberly, time out. I want everybody else to hear what we're talking about."
it. Yes, I am excited. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so excited to have you. A long time ago, I read this book called What Happens When Women Walk in Faith. And it was like one of my favorite books at the time. And it really encouraged me to be more bold in how I approach life, how I approach the things that I felt like the Lord was putting on my heart. And so when I was thinking about this conversation series, I knew that I wanted to talk to someone about confidence and authenticity. And you were the first person that
Yes.
came to my mind because I truly like you are the walking example to me of what it means to be confident
Oh,
and authentic.
man. Thank you, Kendra. Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
grateful.
So I would love for you to share. Do you find that for yourself, has confidence been something that comes naturally to you, or have you just seen it evolve? And even maybe even before you answer that, in your definition, how would you describe what confidence actually is?
So, first of all, I thank you for that because I learned early on the power of confidence and
Hmm.
really knowing that it's about trusting what you've been given, right? And
Mm,
trusting
mm,
yourself to know that you've been entrusted. And so there is a greater level of confidence when you are
yes.
entrusted, right? And then there's a consistency factor. So the more consistent you are, the
Mhm.
more trust you build in yourself, regardless of what's going on around you. Innately, what you were born to do, you now begin to be consistent in that. So my confidence, again, my definition is being able to trust what you've been given, trust
Mhm.
been entrusted with. And I know that may not be the norm, but oftentimes we look for confidence in what everything that we do. But confidence is
Yes.
about who we are and what we have the
Mhm.
responsibility to do. And it shows up in different areas, right? So I may be confident in one area because I've been consistent, or I have
Mhm.
proven, action in a certain area. But most importantly, is betting on yourself, right? Would you bet on you?
Mm.
Would you bet on yourself if it was, a game winning opportunity, or if it was, would you bet on you? And so my confidence is built in such a way that it's about small steps of consistency, trusting what I've been given, and then showing in the manifestation of that fruit. And every single time that that fruit is manifested, it builds my confidence in what I've been given to do.
I would love for you to talk about when was a time you bet on yourself, and it doesn't have to be business related. It could be when you were a teenager, a kid, a little kid. Is there something, a memorable time where you remember betting on yourself?
Oh yeah. So So here's the deal. Like, again, I think like most people that I know, we come from humble beginnings. Our parents either worked, or,
Mhm.
they had
Mhm.
an opportunity to, go into the workforce. They probably didn't have professional jobs, back then, but they worked in blue collar or something of that nature, right? And so I come from a background where again, my father had a sixth grade education, and my mom a high school diploma. And so with that, we were challenged in some areas financially, but I was never challenged in leadership. And
Mhm.
so my dad, even though he was a janitor, and I tell this story that although my dad was a janitor, he taught me my greatest leadership lessons. And I would say that my dad walked with this key, a big key. Y'all know janitors walk with these big key rings because they
Mhm.
got to open
Mhm.
all the classroom doors. They got
Mhm.
to go in the
Mhm.
janitor closets. They got to get all their brooms and mops to do what they need to do. And so I always say he gave me the keys to leadership because he opened up
Mhm.
doors for me in a way that was unique, because he would tell me that just because you don't have something doesn't mean you cannot accomplish it. And he, again, with a sixth grade education. So the greatest lesson for me when I had to bet on myself started when I was about 14 years old. And I was going in for a speaker competition. And so you had to memorize this amazing oratorical like speech. And you have to
Mhm.
present it in front of this big group, and you're traveling, and you're going with all these amazing kids who
Mhm.
mostly were from affluent backgrounds. And so a friend introduced me to the organization. I got into the organization. I didn't know I was um, uh, I knew I could do Easter speeches, right? But I didn't know
Mhm.
I could compete with the best of them. I was 14, and that is when I went into this local. I won. I went in and said the speech, and then I went to this regional and I won. And then I'm like, okay, building that confidence, right? Building
Mhm.
that confidence, not knowing at 14 that's what I was doing. At 14,
Mhm.
I was winning, but I began to build my confidence. Went to the state and won. And then I got to the national, right? And that's when I had to bet on myself at a different level, because external things start to tell you you don't belong. Right. Other people start to tell you, your parents couldn't afford to come here to this event. Only you, someone else had to take me. I had to ride with someone else who, parents could afford to get them there. And Kendra, when I tell you, being able to look up there, and I remember this to this day, people who knew me then and know me now, this was the catalyst that switched it for me. It was called I'm Determined to Be Somebody by William
Mhm.
Herbert Brewster. It was for the Negro.
Mhm.
And I walked on that stage in this national competition with people who look like me but don't know where I come from. And I began to say this speech, right? And I opened up, and it was just like, obstacles are what you see. And I began to embody this. And from that day on, I knew that no matter what room I walked into, accomplish what I'd been entrusted to do. And so that was the turning point where I bet on myself at an early age. And when you put your bet in at an early age, you begin to take on different things that come sooner to you, right? The greater the challenges, and at earlier ages, you go through the stages of development. And so from then
Mm-hmm.
on, I was put in positions where I had to bet on myself. And I think it's important for women on you. There is no other, when we talk about confidence and being authentic, I am the best option, not because I'm good like that, but because he's God like that. And he's
Mm.
already gifted me and he entrusts me. And so I hope I can say that.
Absolutely. You can say whatever you need to say. We're talking about confidence and authenticity.
Yes,
So that is
yes,
authentically Dr. Kimberly Ellison. So,
yes, yes.
yeah.
So that is my journey as it relates to where confidence started for me,
Mm-hmm.
and being unique. I always knew I was different,
Mm-hmm.
creatively different. I was different than my siblings. I think we all have our unique thing, but I was highly unique and highly different. I never really I felt like this, if I could be honest. Uh a lot of times our confidence is rooted in our experiences, our expectations, and our environments.
Mm-hmm.
And so the environment we're in, we now determine what seeds we're going to plant or what seeds we're going to allow to grow. And
Yes.
so those environments can now then help us to produce what's in us, or they will reduce what's in us. And so
Mm-hmm.
with that, in those environments that I was in and around, I knew I was different because I always wanted to be better, right? I was like, I have to do something a little different or differently than what I see here, right? Then my experiences that I started to
Mm-hmm.
the experiences start to shape my confidence. The experiences where you fight that the lack of confidence, say, well, you don't belong, right? I fought
Mm-hmm.
against the spirit of rejection for a very long time. Rejection happened, and it wasn't confidence, it was the rejection trying to affect my confidence, because where my background, my being the first, for those women who are out there that are the first, your confidence is attacked immensely. But it may not show up in you have the
Mm-hmm.
belief in yourself. It may show up in you're in the wrong place. You don't belong here. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. It may show up in a different way from the little girl that, again, you knew growing up and you had these experiences. So you were in an environment that couldn't produce what you knew was in you. So from
Mm-hmm.
there, these experiences you started to have started to shape your confidence, right? And then now your expectations are affected because you
Mm-hmm.
now begin to expect at the level you experienced. And so
Mm.
for
Come on, you better teach us.
for me, it was about really understanding that the environment that I come from helped
Mm-hmm.
develop me.
Mm-hmm.
The experiences that I had helped to shape my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
That they don't, again, determine who I am, but they actually make me who I am. They are part of the journey. And then my expectations are now going to really determine how far I go. And so I utilize that and I flip that to where now these things are part of my life. They're part of my journey, right? And they strengthen me. They give me that resilience that so many women have.
Yes.
And the enemy tries to make us feel like because we've had these experiences that we are now counted out for the
Mm-hmm.
expectation of greater. So listen, I could go on about that, Kendra, but
Yes. Yeah.
again, it has been consistency. If I could say that today, um, consistency has been a part of the confidence factor for me for so very long, right?
Right. When you mentioned, so when you talked about the experiences, the expectations, and the environment, what have you learned from the women that you've worked with? So I know that you do quite a bit of work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So these are topics that you get to talk about often because the women that you're working with are in those environments, right? That are not necessarily welcoming or affirming, I'll say it that
Mhm.
way, that aren't necessarily affirming to their difference that they show up in. Is there a way to break or disrupt
Mm-hmm.
knowing that there are these experiences that you've had, there are these expectations that have been set, there is this environment that you're in, and that is what you feel is really hindering you from being able to show up more confident, because maybe you do have a track record. So for example, I remember one of the people in one of the programs that you and I actually facilitated together.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things she mentioned was that in another work environment, in a different company, she had reached a certain level in her career path and she was doing well. She felt confident and comfortable. So now when she moves over to another company, they actually, it's almost as if they discredited all the experience that she had from that. And they made her start almost at the beginning, as if she was new in her career when she had so much experience, and she also had a track record of delivering results. So
Mm-hmm.
in a situation like that, or in circumstances similar to that, when you are trying to disrupt how you're thinking and feeling so that you can be more confident, what would you say to a woman in that situation?
Absolutely. So first of all, I always say at the bottom of at the top of every mountain is the bottom of another, right?
Mm,
And so confidence is not static.
mm,
It is, again, it changes. It has ebbs and flows, because remember, if it's about consistency, if it's about trusting what you've been entrusted with at different levels or phases in
mhm,
your career or in your life, you're going to have to develop that different level of confidence. And that's one thing
mhm,
we've been taught. We think if I'm confident in one area, I'm going to be confident in another area. That doesn't necessarily ding true. What
mhm,
happens is, based on your receipts, your past experiences, what that teaches you is that I have the resilience, I have the capability, I know that I can do this. This is just going to require something different of me. So what I would
mm,
share is that be open and willing to meet the woman you see in your future, not to ride
mm,
on the experiences and expectation of your past, but irritate the thing on in the inside of you, agitate that thing a little bit, because sometimes it's there to cause growth, and growth builds your confidence. Even though, think about it, if we're working out and you say I'm gonna start working out, people always talk about the pain of the process, but when you think about it, in order to experience growth, there's also going to have to be a disruption of your schedule, a disruption of how you plan your day, a disruption. So it's not just about the physical, right, pain. It's about the planning. It's about being strategic. And I would encourage them to be strategic in their methodology on how is it they're going to infiltrate this new environment.
mm,
And how is it that they're going to, again, when you think about biblically, and you think about Joseph and his reign,
mhm, mhm,
when the kings and stuff died off, new ones came in, they ain't know him, right? So you have to think about ways in which
mhm.
you have been given a purpose. You have been given an identity. You have been entrusted. And so you now have to navigate very strategically in that new territory, right? So I think
Yes.
I would say, always say, we've been given a garden, right? And
Mhm.
I have a responsibility in this garden. If you think about
Yes.
when God told Adam and Eve, this is, go and till the land, go and make sure that you get everything you need for the responsibility that I've given you in this garden, right? It belongs to you.
Mhm,
But there's new discoveries in that garden. You're going to walk
mhm,
through that garden and you're going to find different things and places that you didn't even know. You're going to discover more. So I look at my territory. My garden is, every time I grow, I'm going to discover more about me. And then I'm going to discover enough to be dangerous. I'm really
mhm,
big on growth strategies. I'm big on discipline. And when I say big, meaning those are game changers for women. If
mhm,
we can, what I found, Kendra, and not to go off the rail, is just that if we actually begin to understand that what we do in a way of having that discipline to show up in a greater way, discipline will produce more for us than anything that we think we can produce. Discipline will produce that thing for us. So I encourage you, when you discover more of who you are, embrace the growth process, embrace it, because when you do that, it helps you move from a potential to achievement every single time. What you think is in you what you haven't discovered, now you get an opportunity to tap into that place. So I encourage all of us, because it's tough. If you are a woman in professional environments, corporate America, if you're a woman in
Mhm.
business, if you are a mom, if you are single, if you're, it's tough, right? It's just tough. I was trying to get this little hair so y'all won't be talking about it, but it's tough to oftentimes show up as you. I have this phase that I say, or this phrase, not phase. We go through phases, but this is a phrase. So I often say, this sparkle cost me something.
Mhm.
And when I'm out speaking, I always ask the women or the audience, I'll tell them, this sparkle cost me something. How much does your sparkle cost you? Because showing up authentically and showing up who you are costs you something. There's a sacrifice for women to show up the way in which they do. And so I always encourage women, when we look at another woman and we can see how well together she is, or we can see how her attire, she's adorned in her shapely, ness of her attire, and she's looking good and her hair is done well or nicely done. Or we can look at a woman who had come to a speaking engagement and her fingernails are chipped, or she didn't get a chance to get them done. So she has a little growth, where she needs to go sit down at the nail salon, or and so I always say, when we look at a woman, no matter what position she's in, no matter what phase she's in her life, you don't know what it costs for her to show up.
That's right.
You have no clue what it costs for her to sit at that table and be in the room with you. So the
Mhm.
thing that we have to remember is that each woman carries a story. And until we get a chance to sit and talk with her, we don't know her story. We only come up with a narrative. And so it's
Mhm.
important for us, again, to show up authentically, because that is the best thing we have, is our story. This sparkle cost me something. I'm not going to dumb it down. It's not going to dim. It ain't going to change. This is what it cost me to show up today. And so I believe that that is a game changer when we talk about confidence, knowing it costs you and knowing the value and the worth that comes with it. And when you get me, you're getting more than what you can even imagine. And that's the confidence. I mean, when I walk in the room, I belong there. I have something to
Yeah.
contribute. And
Yes. Yes.
and and that authenticity is my game changer. There's nobody in that room like me. There's
Mhm.
nobody on the team, nobody in this boardroom like me. There's nobody. So our authenticity, people always look for, what's the thing that makes you different?
Mhm.
You are the difference. And I always
Mhm.
say my difference is my destiny. When
Mhm.
Because of how I am created and my unique disposition, I'm a little awkward, I'm a little strange. People don't know how to take me. I'm loud, I'm country, I'm, hey girl, I'm always encouraging individuals, but at the same time, that's what makes me different, is that I show up strong. I show up consistently. I have a great sense of discipline. Again, a high level of discipline, and you will always hear me talk about having a strategy for women and men, but primarily women. When you have a strategic plan and showing up consistently, it's going to change your life. What you do today is your tomorrow. That is not a cliche, that's a truth. And the more what I found, Kendra, is we don't have stay in power.
Mhm. Mhm.
If this doesn't work today, if I don't sell a book today, or if I don't get the promotion tomorrow, I'm going to switch it up, or I'm going to bow out gracefully.
Mhm.
But those who, again, change the game, they have stay in power.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
have to have staying power, especially in these social media streets. They'll run you off quick, right? They'll run you
Yes.
off quick. So you have to be able to have that confidence in knowing what you have is here to shift and change the atmosphere of where you are entrusted.
Yes. When I was listening to you talk about the authenticity that you show up with in a room, that there's no one like you, I think that's part of actually what scares people. That what scares us is that we are different, that there is no one like you. And constantly wanting and needing the assurance, like always assessing the room to
Mhm.
see if I'm okay, right? That is,
Yeah.
am what I doing, is it acceptable? Can I belong here? Is that good enough? Um, and so I think that part of what you said about what does your sparkle cost you, because we're not saying that being authentic, and we're also not saying that showing up with confidence are not going to cost you something, because they are going to cost you something, because they're going to cost you being possibly misunderstood by people. They're going to cost you even sometimes questioning yourself,
Mhm.
even though maybe you feel like I'm fully prepared, I have what I need, I have the experience, but then now I'm questioning myself, you know. So all of those things, but then there's also some good things as well that are the result of you showing up with the confidence, is like giving other people permission to
Mhm.
be who they are. You getting to meet and connect with people in ways where you support each other. I would say, like, there's been times where you and I, because we both do work with
Mhm.
companies, we work with the same companies sometimes it's like you ask a question that I'm like, man, I'm so glad she asked that. Like that you had the courage and the confidence to speak
Mhm.
up and say certain things. And so us learning to embrace that sparkle, like you said, that thing that makes us different, but also knowing that some of that is just, this is just the cost of admission. This is the cost of admission of being a leader. And so I think that what you shared just really communicated that so beautifully. Is there a secret, like this is something I've been kind of hinting to people, because we're calling this secrets of
Mhm.
thriving women leaders. So one of the questions that I really wanted to ask you is that if you only had 3 minutes, Dr. Kimberly, to
Mhm.
coach a leader about what it takes to stand more confident and more authentic in their leadership journey, would you tell her something or would you show her something? So you got 3 minutes with a leader. Would you
Huh.
show
All
her
right.
something or tell her something?
That's tough.
Well, what's
Uh,
coming to mind?
well, for one, I think if I had to choose,
If you
I
had to choose.
would I would tell her something that she needs to show herself.
Mm.
And I say that because belief. No matter what I show you, no matter what I tell you, if you do not believe it, it will not happen. So
Mhm.
I would encourage her to go back and challenge her belief about where she is. If she was struggling with her confidence, to identify what are those things that are true and what are those things that is a narrative you've created based off experiences, expectation, and environment. Because if I can shift your belief about something, I can shift your actions about it. So I would
Mm.
tell her something that was going to help shape her action.
Mhm.
And I know that sounds, well, Dr. Kim, yes, I would, because where is it that you don't believe? Like there has
Mhm.
to be something that has triggered your belief system in some way. Um, Again, I'm bold in my faith. And I think confidence is great, but courage is even greater. The word of God never says be confident. He says be courageous.
Mm.
He never tells us, to show up authentic. He says show up in the identity that I've given you, right? Know your identity.
Mhm.
Because I believe when we are in different environments, and I would share this with this individual, when we're in different environments, the environment demands a different part of who we are. And so when we are in an environment, authenticity says, what part of me does this environment demand from me? But sometimes as women and as leaders, we try to give every environment all of us. But we need to
Mm.
be wise in understanding where is it that I have a demand in this environment. And so different environments require us to show up in a different way. And I
Mm.
would share with her something that would ignite her belief, that would cause her to shift in her action.
Mm. So powerful. So powerful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because, and you know what, it was when I was listening to you share that, I think about for years, there were things that my husband would say to encourage me, or even my friends
Mhm.
would say to encourage me. But honestly, until I was willing to believe it, it didn't change anything. It didn't change anything at all. And I had to be willing to actually believe that it was true, that it was real. And there's just something about also stepping out and doing something that absolutely terrifies you,
Mhm.
something that you can fail at, something where you are open to criticism or
Mhm.
judgment from other people, that really helps you realize that none of those things can make you or break you, that
Yeah.
you're going to be just fine. You're going to
Listen,
be just fine.
listen. I know we're nearing our time, but I'll tell you this. I always tell my clients, my family, my friends, and even myself,
Hmm.
my kids, my husband, listen, people will always have something to say, no matter what you do. I remember this meme that I saw on social media. It was a lady that was riding, she was pregnant,
Hmm.
and she was riding on the back of a donkey or a mule. Her husband
Hmm.
was old and he was pushing the mule. And then there was another picture where, and people were walking by and they showed people in this picture saying, why is she letting him push that? He is old. He needs to be on top of that. And then there was a picture where she was pushing it and they were like, he's a man. He needs to let her push and get her on there. She's pregnant. And then they let the kid pull the donkey and they were like, that's child labor. Why wouldn't they? I mean, so here's the deal. People will
Hmm.
always have something to say in the way in which
Hmm.
you show up because you're not them.
Hmm.
And so we have to be so rooted in who we are and showing up as
Yes.
our authentic self. And when people do give criticism, it's okay. All right.
Hmm.
Feedback is one thing because that's going to help me challenge myself
Yes.
to do something
Yes.
differently. But if
Hmm.
it's pure judgment out of criticism and it's coming to from a harmful place, then
Hmm.
I always say I admonish people to expect it. Right? I don't even think they're haters. I mean, I'm not quick to call people a hater. I'm quick to say that's your
Yes.
opinion,
Yes.
and I appreciate that's the
Hmm.
way you would do it. But for what I intend for to happen, this is the way I would do it. Right? Like we have to be
Yes.
confident in the fact that people are going to show up differently and we are sometimes that difference and people aren't going to like it.
Yes, and that is okay. We can learn to become okay with that. And I really feel like everything that you shared today was a strategy, a tool for how we start to think about how we are presenting ourselves, like how we're even thinking about ourselves. There was one of the things that you really said that I didn't get a chance to highlight that I want to bring up now is when you talked about agitating what's inside of you. There, one of the things that I have been sharing recently is that confidence is something that's cultivated privately but is
Mm-hmm.
practiced publicly.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes we miss that because it is a cultivation just like you described it, there where there is a seed there that is, it needs to be watered, it needs to be nurtured. And it's something that where you got to go internally and start to ask the Lord to support you and help you in what is it going to take for you to start believing, like you were mentioning before, believing who you actually have been created to be, and how it's so much bigger than just being about you and what you need. A lot of times I think that we can be confident when it comes to when we have something that's bigger than us. Like, so for example, me, I'm a parent. One of the things, I'm a parent. So there are certain moments and situations where I'm not going to back down. I'm going to be confident
Mhm.
because my children's well-being is on the line. And
Yeah.
so it's bigger than me. It's not just about what I want to happen in a moment.
Right.
It's actually about what is best for them as well. And so I think that what you mentioned about agitating what's inside of you, agitating the truth of who you really are, like letting that get stirred up inside of you is really important.
Oh, huge. And I'll say this, Kendra, I know we're wrapping up, but I will say this. We have to reevaluate what we believe confidence comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Because if someone pays you a compliment, then you're more confident. If someone says, "Oh, you're good at this, Kendra," more confidence.
Mm-hmm.
When those compliments stop, you now become less confident
Mm-hmm.
because you're not getting it externally. Right. So we have to reevaluate, where is it that we are getting our buckets full, right? Where is it that we are getting these deposits from? Because oftentimes people will say, and I'll just be, we're talking to women, right? Women.
That's
So
right.
say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, Doctor, y'all, I wear units all the time. I wear them like hats. Okay, let's be very clear. I wear them for fashion. I absolutely love them. And people will say, "Oh, I like this one better than that one. Oh, this one is," and I say, "I'm glad you do," or "Girl, I'm glad you ain't wearing it," and not in a negative way. It's just that we have to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and be confident that we've made decisions and choices that look like our future. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
so if I'm looking in the mirror and I say, this is what I'm choosing, right? And I'm going about my day, everything that I do, I'm already establishing that my choices, my decisions, I'm solid in those because I
Mm-hmm.
am looking forward to my future. Now, do I want to bring people along with me who are going to cheerlead me, who are going to pour into me, who are going to encourage me? Absolutely. But we have to be so sound that if no one cheers for you, you know that you still have been entrusted to do the work. And so I just believe that when we look at external facing confidence, that's when one of the top things I get with people, clients, women, they are so worried, and I don't know why. I have had millions of women I've coached and consulted, but what if people don't like it? And I'm going, but what if they do?
Mm-hmm.
What if
Mm-hmm.
no one reads my book? But what if they do?
Mm-hmm.
What is
Mm-hmm.
the possibility of what you're telling yourself is not true? What is
Mm-hmm.
the possibility? And so getting people to believe at a higher level of expectation for themselves. We can cheer other people on. Kendra, I know you're going to do great. Kendra, I
Mm-hmm.
know you're gonna do great. But oftentimes we don't have that same level for others. And so I encourage us to be able to know and look in the mirror and say, every single decision that I make is going to lead me to the woman I see in my future. People say, who's your hero? I have a lot of living and dead heroes, right? But the number one hero as a woman that I see is the one in my future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got to go after her.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I'm becoming. It's not about when we're in situations, and we're talking about confidence, ladies, and I'll end here. We're in situations, it's not about what we're getting from that situation. It's not about what we're giving into that situation. It's about what are we becoming from that. Are we becoming more confident? Are these situations serving us? Are these environments allowing us to become a better person, a better woman, a better business owner, building our confidence? Where is it that we need to check? We all go through it, right? Go back and do the checks and balances of, how did this chip away from me?
Mm-hmm.
What are we becoming? And I think that's going to help you build your confidence and build your authenticity in a greater way. When we start to, it's not cliche, seriously. And I'm not saying old school mentality. You know how Kendra will say, oh, that's just how I am. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
Right. Right.
change and development and all of those things. But what I'm talking about is being confident that I'm going to show up and I'm going to contribute based on what I've been given. And I'm going to contribute at a high level, and I'm going to contribute at my level best. And
Mm-hmm.
that's all that we can do.
Yeah. I feel like what you have done is really help reframe and shift how we think about confidence, because I think that a lot of it can feel like it's a lot of external validation and things that we're looking for that are coming from the outside
Mhm.
versus it's coming from the inside out, right? And so, what we know to be true about who we are, the choices that we're making, are we thinking about that future version of ourselves? Are we thinking about what we know that has we have been entrusted with by God? All of those things actually help shift from thinking about what's coming in and know that this is what's already in us on the inside of us. And so I really appreciate you for being here. And I already knew that you were going to have such a depth to share with us about what confidence looks like, what authenticity, because it means something when a person, like, this is just how you live your life. Like, this is just who you are. You just have an expectation that good is going to happen for you. You just have an expectation that you have everything that you already need to show up in these ways. And so when you come and share, then that is also what comes across to everybody that's listening. So I really thank you for being my guest today, Dr. Kimberly. I'm going to share your website again with everyone. Is there anything that you want to share that you're working on, that you maybe want to encourage people to reach out to you for? Yes.
Absolutely. So, a couple of things. One, we offer professional development sessions every last Thursday of the month. This month for Women's History, we're doing a double header, which is the power of your personal brand and unleashing the confident woman within. And so that will be at the end of the month. But every last Thursday of the month, we have a personal or professional development courses. I would love for you to visit drkimberlyellison.com and follow us on social media, on Instagram, Dr. Kimberly Ellison or DK Training Development, and also Sparkle Publishing. So again, it has been a joy on this journey with you. And it's time for us to continue as women leaders to build. One thing I want to walk away, with you all to think on today is that every level will require a different version. Every level will require a different part of us. And if we are willing to do the work, we will meet that version of us in a greater way. I always say, who are you introducing yourself to this month? Who are you introducing yourself to next? Like, you have to literally, I will tell my friends, girl, I met somebody, and they're like, who? I'm like, girl, me. And you have to be able to, I'll post on social media, a picture, right? And I'll say, oh, wow, I met this woman today. She was in my future.
Mm-hmm.
I just, developed this amazing content that I didn't think I could do. And with the time frame that I had, and I did, and it was successful, I introduced myself to her. So we have to start introducing ourselves to the different versions of who we are at every level. And that's what I would leave on today, is begin to introduce yourself and say, hello, Dr. Kimberly. Nice to meet you at this level.
Love it. All right, y'all, take Dr. Kimberly's words, and we will end with that. Thank you so much. We really appreciate having you here. One of the primary things that I like to support my clients with is them learning how to leverage their strengths. And because I feel so strongly about the value of leveraging your strengths, I thought that it was important for me to get trained in helping people do this. And so I am certified in an assessment called the Kolbe assessment. And Kolbe helps measure your instinctive strengths. So when you are working on a problem, when you're solving problems, whether by yourself or in a team environment, how you solve problems is so important. And knowing what your strengths are around solving those problems is important. Kolbe is such a powerful tool because it not only tells you what your strengths are, but it gives you very specific action items so that you can start using more of your strengths, so that you can pay attention and notice when you're using your strengths. And I would love to be able to support you in helping you leverage your instinctive strengths in the work that you're doing. Leveraging your strengths, your instinctive strengths, helps you be more productive. It helps create less stress in your life, and you feel more aligned in the work that you are doing. And so, if you are interested in learning more about that, you can head over to my website. On my website at strongher.me/Colby mini session. You can find all the details about what I'm offering you, but I'm offering this as a complimentary 45-minute debrief and a laser coaching session that will equip you to activate your instinctive problem solving strengths so you can lead more authentically in your business or your ministry work. I hope that you will schedule some time with me. All right, until next time, remember to work your plan and watch God work. Bye, y'all.